Shotgun Shane Collinson. Clock this fella. He's 20 stone, got half underweight a ton on him, but who's going to tell him he's an advert for Mr. T starter kits? Landscape gardener now, and he's been known to pay the Jack and Jills by cleaning out the local bookies in Hull. This is a different ruck altogether. One chance Huseyin. This Captain Kirk from South London wouldn't look out of place alongside Kate Moss on the catwalk. Unfortunately for him, this ain't Milan, and tonight's players don't wear Jimmy Choos at the weekends. He's a real pretty boy, this bloke, but those teeth of his ain't all his own. Kevin Poast. This geezer's mustard on the internet. He's a mechanical engineer by trade down near Wembley Stadium. My grass says he's only ever played twice at real live table, and one of those was down here a few weeks ago. My old mother always told me never to trust the grass. Piers Whyman. At 27, he's only a kid compared to the other runners tonight. But don't feel sorry for the lad because he can look after himself. He's been a regular down his local card rooms in Sussex for a handful of years now, and he's no stranger to walking out of them with a fistful of banknotes. Rene mouritsen. He's the new breed and they don't give too much away. You don't get too many Danes this side of town, so if you're looking for an outsider to cop the lot tonight, look no further than this tasty geezer. Tony G. As well as being one of the biggest names in world poker, he unfortunately has one of the biggest cake holes in the history of the game. This guy's pocketed enough money over the years to square up the third world debt, and he's looking to add some more to his piggy bank tonight. I'll make him favourite to black the 50 G's. This is the real deal. Poker as meant to be played. Sit back and enjoy the moves, the calls, the raises and the bluffs. Because this, ladies and gentlemen, is the partypoker.com poker den. Okay, let's get on with it.
Welcome to the Poker Den. My name is Mad Marty Wilson and I'm in charge tonight. The game is No Limit Texas Hold'em. You know the rules. The blinds will start at 100, 200 pounds. You each receive 8.5 grand. Winner takes the lot. Losers, you make your own excuses. Dealer, deal the cards.
Good evening, I'm Jesse May and I'm joined tonight by poker pro Gary Jones. We'll be bringing you all the action from the partypoker.com poker den, absolutely live. Someone is going to win £50,000. And let's see who's playing tonight. In seat number 1 is Shane Collinson. Tough nut here, Gary.
Yeah, it doesn't look like the sort of person I want to be stealing the blinds of, and apparently he's a close personal friend of the Devilfish, so he's going to be no pushover.
Well, used to those private games up in Hull. Seat number 2 tonight, Kevin Poast, who second time playing here, Poker Den.
Yeah, he's only played 3 times live in his life, and that's including tonight, but 2 of them are at the partypoker.com poker den, so at least he's got some experience in front of the cameras.
Yeah, and being comfortable in this little spieler could be helpful. Next to Kevin Poast, everybody's eyes, or more likely their ears, will be on this guy, Tony G.
Yeah, definitely the most experienced player at the table. Most poker players let their betting do the talking, but our Tony G, he's happy to do it all himself.
Right. He is a danger. Plenty of money won round the world in the poker scene. And then on Tony's left, seat number 4 is Piers Whyman. He's from Brighton.
Yeah, he's played quite a bit down there in Brighton. He's probably the youngest and maybe the least experienced when it actually comes to playing in front of the TV cameras and stuff as well, but I'm sure he's got every chance.
Well, he's on Tony G's left. That's going to be tough. Next to Piers is Huseyin, also from the East End of London.
Yeah, he managed to get his seat through a satellite. We're just going to have to see if he can repeat it again in front of the cameras here.
Yeah, and to the real cash stage. And our last player, a bit of an odd man out here, the Dane from Aarhus, Rene Mouritsen.
Yeah, I've played with quite a few Danes in my time, and you find that most of these boys can play the game, and I reckon he's my dark horse, my outsider. If Tony G doesn't take this one down by aggression and verbal, I reckon this man will do the trick.
Tough to scare a Scandi at the poker table, but the cards are out. Spun round by Amanda. First hand here, straight into the action, and it'll be Tony G first to speak. Blinds 1 and 200 pounds.
Pass.
Pass.
Can you look at yours?
Tony G folds up chop. Are we going to see early action here, Gary?
Well, they'll probably be feeling each other out a bit. Tony G will probably be doing a lot of that feeling out with his mouth. He'll be giving them all a plenty of verbal.
Yeah, you put your fingerprints on it right away.
Suited.
There he is.
This in later.
So Lou Hussein, suited ace behind the button, just calling the 200-pound bet. And now we get to see a little bit about what Rene Mouritsen is made of.
Ray.
Well, he's picked up the lady straight away on the button, and he's going to raise it up.
800 total.
That's a big raise at this stage.
Pass.
Well, he probably just wants to win the blinds, doesn't want to do anything too clever this early. And I don't think he's going to get too much action here from Kevin.
Kevin in the big blind, suited 8. Not much, but it is 600 pounds more to call. And that is real cash on this table. Will Hussein get involved early? He's got a live ace, but don't like his chances.
No, he's probably going to muck this one. He's played it pretty cautious before the flop just by calling. He's given himself a chance to get away with it from nothing. He's only done 200 pounds in the pot, and that's going to go across to the Dane.
On the back of 2 queens, Rene Mouritsen taking that first pot.
You rip it, had to. You didn't have to rip it, right?
A little
Now
smile.
you get a penalty now. You get a penalty, right? You
Looks
get
like a
penalty.
tall guy as well. I don't want to be messing with him either. There's quite a few around this table that look like can handle themselves.
Of course, we know Rene had the goods, but you know, when these players get early aggressive like that, I mean, it's the tendency of the others to think that they're just at it.
Yeah, if they could be sitting there thinking he's just taking advantage early on.
So 300 quid in the pot. That's Tony G in the big blind this hand, and it is Piers under the
I
gun.
mean, I'll be the home first. You know, I've seen the underdogs win.
I don't know, you've got the longest way to go, so you probably won't be
Pass.
first.
But I could be behind them.
Well, Tony's got him talking. And here's Rene,
Fine.
second raising
Ray.
hand in a row. This time he's
500.
raising it to 5.
Could mean $5.
Oh, that's inviting.
5 quid.
The thing is, the rest of them might give him some loose action here because they've already seen him raise one pot. Shane's having a reach already, and he's only sitting there with Jack 6.
Well,
Listen, why don't you behave yourself? I'll play my game, you play yours. It's so easy, Tony.
I wish
So
it was.
easy.
Shane's
So
sending
what
out a
I've been
message
doing
So
here
easy, there's a 2.
that you do not try and rob his button. He's defending it.
re-raised. 1200 total.
Wow, that's massive. They call Shane the blaster up in hole because he just puts everybody
hope
to
I
the
have a hand
test.
to take
And
you
with
guys
Jack
up.
6, Gary, is he going to get re-raised?
Well, it's going to be interesting to
don't
see what
think
how much Rene fancies
did.
his ace-queen here.
Cool.
He's raised, he's been re-raised.
Yeah, it's 800 more, I think.
You still haven't unripped there.
And Rene, a huge favorite in this hand. But Shane's got position and last aggressive action.
Yeah, and if Rene doesn't hit any of this, I'm willing to bet that Shane's going to have a pop at it. So let's see if the flop brings anything for these two titans to clash early.
Well, there's 2,700 pounds in this pot, and we've only just started.
2, 3,
Nothing
7.
for no one.
But that means it's probably a good flop for Shane.
Boy, it's tough staring
Yeah.
into those eyes across the
2000.
dark glasses of Shane Collinson. Absolutely no fear. Jack high, Gary.
Yeah, he's took control of this pot with a re-raise before the flop, and now Rene's in all sorts of trouble. He's got the best hand, he's almost a 3-1 favourite, but I don't think he can call a bet.
He has no idea.
He'd be inspired to see him call this one or move all in.
You talk about not wanting to get bullied. It's the second hand, and Shane Collinson has already stuck about half his stack into the pot with nothing at all. That's a statement. He's dressed in that Irish warrior gear. But
I don't think it'd matter what he wore tonight, he still would have been intimidating.
Rene's flown all the way here from Denmark and now put to the test. This game only 5 minutes old. And he believes.
Already making good laydowns.
So Shane picks up the pot, hand number 2.
Oh, yeah.
Just jack eye for him.
I mean, you talk about sending a message. 5.5 carats in each ear. And who knows how much gold is under the table. Shane Collinson off and running. That'll send a huge message to the rest of this crowd. Who will be the one to call him down? We'll check back. More from PartyPoker.com Poker Den after this. Every poker hand falls into the official ranking of poker hands. At the bottom, high card only. Just ahead of that, 1 pair. Then 2 pairs, that's self-explanatory. 3 of a kind is better still. And a straight, 5 in the row of any suit. Aces can be high or low. A flush is 5 of the same suit in any order. A full house is a pair plus 3 of a kind. 4 of a kind is what it says. Everyone looking for that straight flush. That's 5 in a row, all the same suit. And a royal flush is the top hand. That's a straight flush, ace high. So that's the ranking of hands, and you wonder how familiar Shane Collinson is with those. Jack high, 2,700 pounds in the pot.
Well, it was enough to win the pot. The 2,000 bet scared off Rene with the better hand.
I mean, sometimes these games, Gary, are just about hard, aren't they? These one table. You're not going to get great cards. You have to play what you get, I guess.
Exactly. Play the players. Put them under pressure, and Shane Collinson's got that down to a T already.
Well, he's the chip leader right now, and actually, Shane quieted down Tony G. We haven't heard him say a word for a few seconds at least.
Which is a rarity from Tony.
It's nearly a record. Shane folding his cash, those crisp 50-pound notes. And first, we've heard of Kevin Poast this evening, doubling the bet to 400 pounds. That's 2 plus 2 straight.
Okay, so okay, Marty. That's what he wants to make, yeah?
He said raise 4 rather than make it 4. So it is going to be 600 to play. The dealer just clarifying that.
Yeah, and tournament director Mad Marty Wilson, who knows the rules as well as anyone, saying the bet does stand at 6. So big blind here, I think. Piers whyman, and that's not much of a hand.
So the raise from Kevin's going to get through, I think.
Respect given to Kevin Poast. Reshuffle, re-scramble, and re-deal. Well, Kevin Poast showing he is not scared, Gary, to raise with not much. Just getting a feel out here.
Yeah, just a bit of a button still there. Pick up the blinds so he keeps his 8,500 that he walked in the door with.
Nice race. What did you have?
We've had early action already on this poker den. Will Shane Collinson continue, or will Tony G be the one to put the hammer down? There's still 6 on the PartyPoker.com Poker Den. Welcome back. 3 hands in the books here. PartyPoker.com Poker Den, and let's have a look at the leaderboard, how it stacks up so far. Gary, pretty much the decisive hand, Shane Collinson bluffing out Rene Mouritsen, and that's the story.
Yeah, that's pretty well it so far. Rene raising for the 2nd hand in a row. Shane Collinson took control of it with just Jack 6 of hearts. Came over the top of him and then bullied him out on the flop with just Jack high.
And who would know that Tony G hasn't moved a chip yet? He's certainly talking his boots off. We have an exclusive Poker Den competition here for you. Let's have a look at what you can win. We're giving you the chance of having a Poker Den game round your gaff. We'll bring a table, a dealer, and a set of chips for you and your mates to have a night of serious poker. You get to keep the table and chips as a little memento and get a very private invitation to watch our last Poker Den in East London. We'll even chuck in a hotel for the night. All you have to do to win is answer this question. Which hand includes 3 of a kind and a pair? Is it A, full hat, B, full house, or C, full hooray? It's free to enter. All you have to do is go to www.challenge.co.uk/pokerden and answer the question. Entrance must be 18 or over, and the competition closes on August 1st. Well, we have a full hooray here, still 6 left in the poker den. And Rene Mouritsen, who seems to have the technical moves, Gary, has, we'll have to find if he has the mettle to stand up to this pressure.
Yeah, he's already the lowest man on the leaderboard after getting bluffed out by Shane Collinson earlier on.
But the blinds, I guess, are still low. 1 in 200 pounds. At
4 to 5.
Yeah, the blind's still low enough.
4 to 5, you say? 4 to 5. Pass.
Pass.
Seems like a lot of money, 300 pounds in the pot, but with 50 grand here on the table.
Cool. Can do the right thing with you guys.
Kevin Poast calling, and Kevin is sitting between Shane and Tony. He's getting it in both ears.
Yeah, he is. These two boys
You know exactly what I've got when I tell you which way I want to bet.
going at each other non-stop.
They sure are.
No raise.
Well, we're head up here. Big blind. And Kevin Poast, the big blind this hand, is Huseyin. First we're going to see of him this evening. And that's a playable hand. 500 quid in the pot, flop to come.
Yeah, plenty of flops could get these two boys going at each other. 8-Jack and 9-10.
8, 6, 2.
Well, the 9-10's got 2 overcards and a straight draw, but out in front right now, the 8-Jack
Check.
with top pair.
Check to Poast.
Double check.
Just making sure he has got that 8. Wasn't Jack 7 last time I looked, was it? No, it was Jack 8. Let's have a stab.
I'm going to count for you. It might be easier. You're confused with this money.
Tony G hasn't even played a hand
I don't
yet.
think he's biting yet, Tony.
No, but I can
But I
help
bet you the
I'm
rest
just
of
trying
them
to
don't
help.
realise that. All they're going to have heard
Counting,
the
you can
entire
count
time
if
is
you want.
Tony G's voice.
You
500.
don't understand English currency.
I do understand it.
You don't.
Post standing up
We've
well
got the
here.
Queen too in Australia.
Have you?
Yeah.
Yeah, but she's German.
I'm German.
No, is your queen German?
The Queen German? Wow, there's got some German blood in there, that's for sure.
Pass.
Meanwhile, Huseyin lays down the straight draw. Kevin Poast takes the pot,
That
but
is
he had to put up with a lot to get it.
There was a lot
And
of
not even
Queens-
one of the players in the
Queens
pot.
Just German, wasn't there? Even pure German.
Poast will take it down. He'll count his stack and find he's just above where he started. But that's the difference between live poker and the other version. I mean, here, Gary, you have got to be able to meet the guys face to face, head to head, and match verbal with verbal if you want to win the money.
Or you can play the quiet option like Rene. He's probably not said a word after losing his chips to Shane. Shane and Tony G, though, they're certainly not being quiet. They're having plenty of goes at each other. Tony G may be able to win the battle of the verbal, but if it comes to blows, my money's going to be on the man with the gold round his neck.
Tom.
Can you let me have a look?
Tell me what I should do.
Well, pass me the cards and I'll let me have a look.
Do I pass or call?
Call.
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 Okay.
Oh. 4-6.
You call too.
Pass.
Shane doing what Tony G says. It's
I
200 to
pass.
call. And
Still hasn't played a hand, Tony. He's keeping out the way.
well, there's cash in the center already. 500 quid in there. And it's 100 pounds on Huseyin. He'll peel off the
Fold.
flop,
No raise.
as will Rene. We're 3-way
For
here.
call, you can also change the call to look. Makes it more interesting. I want to look. Look is like call.
Okay.
Look means call. Look.
Has Shane even looked? Oh my.
Jack.
Shane Collinson just flopped
Look.
3 4s,
Look.
being told by
You
Tony
always have to
to
play, when you
come
play
in
with
the
me,
pot.
always say look. I want to look at
Well,
this.
he'll be thanking him if he can get some action
Yeah,
here, but
right,
unfortunately
just
no
look
one's
all
got
the
any
time.
of it.
3,000 to play.
That is a massive bet.
I think he's slightly overbet this one, Jesse. Can't imagine either of the players wanting to play now.
What do these guys must think? 600 pounds in the pot, and Shane Collinson has bet 3,000 into it. They call him the Blaster, and I think that's why.
That is a serious
And what do you
bet.
think about those over bets?
Well, if someone had been sitting there with a jack, they might have thought they're well in front.
To win that pot, right?
Also stopped anyone with the flush draw, but if it had found a caller there, it'd probably been someone with another 4 and possibly a better card. But, well, he's got that one through.
I believe you. You told me that before. I believe everybody.
Okay.
They should do.
Sorry, sweetie.
You're doing good. You're the captain in chips, in
Shane,
queens.
wins
We're
the
only
pot
playing for
and
queens,
puts the
right?
big blind in.
To win all the queens and you win.
Okay.
It's got some sort of a governor here as well. Bank of England. Gatekeeper.
Gary, you know, if you think you're going to
That's
get the
pretty
last
good.
words in against Tony
Gatekeeper.
G, you're going to have to travel down a long path of rocky roads. He's a talker.
Pass.
He is, and he's just mucked an ace.
I
Tony
mean,
G definitely keeping out of trouble right now.
I mean, you look at Tony's stack of cash,
Pass.
it's crystal clean. He has not
Pass.
moved a bill, but at all the same time, he's dominating the rhythm of this game, along with Shane Collinson.
Well,
Call.
these two boys have clashed before.
No raise.
Just a flat call from Rene.
Well, Rene might be trying to set a trap here, just limping in with the ace.
Shane says nope. Let's see a flop.
King, 7, queen.
And that is a pretty nice flop
Okay.
for Shane. He's made a flush draw here, Gary, hasn't he?
He has.
You've got to make a rule that you can only look before the flop. You can't look after the flop.
And he's probably going to blast this one through.
1,000.
There he
Ah,
goes.
You're
Relentless.
strong. You play like you are.
Shane Collinson
boxer?
used
You
to be
boxer,
a
right?
bare
With a
knuckle
knuckle.
boxer,
Carry on, you'll understand if I boxed or not, Tony.
and he's
I've
just
been there
swinging
before, but
the
it might be worth it,
uppercuts
you know?
tonight.
Tony, listen, if you win the 50, I'll fight you for in the car park.
Yeah. Well, we already agreed to play heads up for it, right?
Okay, okay.
Whoever wins, if one of us wins, we play for 50.
Of course one of us is going to win, and it ain't you.
I'm the favourite to be out first. I'm not.
Not yours.
Most of these players on the beer or scotch, but Shane straight into the champagne. He's got a heart of gold, and he lives well as well.
Pass.
Well, Tony just said he's going to be the first one out. He's got a player hand to do that. So far, he's mucked every single one.
Pass.
Shane, on the other hand, has had a slightly
Pass.
different betting strategy.
Folded around to
Pass.
the button, and Rene. He looks a bit uncomfortable, Rene, like he doesn't know where his feet are. But Shane Collinson,
Call.
small blind, trying to pick on Kevin Poast.
Well,
No
he
raise.
finally
That's
picks up
called
half a
friends.
hand when there's just two of them left, and he just flat calls with it.
Your friends.
Flop to come, 200 each. Action will be on Shane when this board
King,
comes
8,
down. And a
king.
couple hearts looking nice for Kevin Poast. Flush draw.
Check.
Poast is immobile, frozen. Now he moves towards the readies. And that nice little shuffle
400.
means big money.
400.
I'll bet the size of the pot. Shane has every right to think he has the best hand here, Gary.
Well, he does probably think he has, and as it happens, he's got the best hand at the moment, but it's not even a favourite. The 6, 7 of hearts. With that flush draw, he can catch any heart, a 6 or a 7, and that will put him in front.
Collinson having a heavy look. He's blasted every pot so far. Does he want to get involved with this lad from Brighton?
Pass.
Rather wise decision.
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange way he's playing here. Every time he's got half a hand or an absolute monster, he sticks in a chunk. But once he's got these half hands, he doesn't seem to know where he is. So that one goes to Kevin, and he'll be happy for the little pot there with Shane.
Yeah, these players are going to have trouble putting Shane on a hand. Actually, no hands turned over yet. Everybody stabbing around in the dark, but Kevin Poast is ahead of where he started, and we have still got 6, but deep into the action here on the partypoker.com Poker Den. Nothing beats live poker, and here in the smoky confines of the Poker Den, here with Gary Jones. And Gary, looking at the leaderboard, Shane Collinson has yet to be challenged.
Well, no one's seen a hand that he's played, and so far the biggest pot that we've had has been won with a bluff by this man, Shane Shotgun Collinson.
30 ounces on his right hand. That's the gold alone. And he's been moving it up with Tony G. who is a bully extreme. Looks like a pigeon, but someone who knows a bit about bullying. Dave the Devilfish Elliott with his own tips for being a bully.
Look, how to be a bully at the table? You wear dusters like these and you bash him on the chin when they beat you in a pot. No, seriously. First of all, you've got to get some chips together. It's no good starting out being a bully. Try and build a few chips up. And as soon as you get more chips than they have, you've got to start bullying them. You've got to start stealing off them, robbing them. You don't need cards now. The more chips you get, the less cards you need.
Gary, you've sat around the table plenty with the Devilfish. Is he right about that? Is he a bully?
Yeah, he certainly is. He's absolutely fearless when it comes to No Limit Hold'em. You give him chips and he will rob you blind.
And Shane Collinson, one of the Devilfish's close friends, and they seem to have picked up a few moves to boot.
Yeah, he possibly doesn't have the finesse of the fish, but he's certainly got the aggression.
You said call and raise?
Yeah, call and raise. Oh, well, what does that mean? Raise? It means call and raise.
You can't call him.
Of course, what do you mean?
It's okay, Ghost.
May not go at the World Series if you put it like that, but here at the partypoker.com poker den, that's fine.
Yeah, these guys have been going at it since
This is pressure, huh?
the parking lot. And Tony G, yet to move. He's facing a 1,000-pound raise, and he's got nearly the same hand here.
Cool.
Wow, and he's going to play a pot.
Well, this is the first time these guys are at it. There's already 2,500 pounds in the middle. A lot of split pots out here, but it could come down to guts and brawn, Gary.
Yeah, and right now, we've seen plenty of that from Shane.
Check.
1,000.
1,000.
Tony G has checked it, and Shane has bet 1,000. You get the feeling this is one of those key pots of the evening.
Raise.
And Tony G has said pump it up.
3,000 more, 3 total.
Call to 1,000.
Cool.
Well, that's going to scare Tony. He's re-raised him and he's called him in a shot.
You want to know what happens when the unstoppable force meets the immovable object? 8.5 grand in the middle is what? These guys both have the same hand.
3,000.
3,000.
But Shane's got more balls than Tony G. He's put the 3,000 in there. The pot's now 11,500, and this is going to cripple Tony if he mugs this one.
Pass.
Well done.
Well, he's managed to bluff him out. They both have pretty well the same hand.
Well done is right. If you can slick the slicker first, he can't hornswoggle you. And Shane Collinson from the upper regions of Hull making a name for himself here,
You got
Gary.
me crippled.
That is incredible. He's called the 2,000 re-raise there with Tony with next to nothing. He's pretty well calling just to bluff him out of it on the turn, and that's what's happened.
I mean, you talk about heart. You talk about no fear. Shane's like a jackhammer. You know, that necklace that he's wearing around his neck, he won in an arm wrestling competition, and you can only imagine what the guy looked like who he had to beat to take it from. Not Minnie Mouse, I don't believe.
Pass.
New hand. Shane Collins had well in the lead in a pair of 9 balls for Rene.
Cool.
And Rene's having trouble finding spot to breathe in with Shane on his left, Gary.
Yeah, it's not a nice position to be in. But he's got a pair of 9s. He's going to see a flop.
Yeah, he just called.
Mm.
Is that because he's scared of the re-raise from behind?
I think he is a bit. I think the others have put a bit of manners on him. He now wants to see a flop, hopefully catch a 9 and then break someone.
Shane playing absolutely nothing, a queen high. And Kevin Post not wanting to get involved with the ace on the button.
Cool.
Look.
Tony took a huge hit. He passed 8 hands and then dumped 4 grand into the last pot.
No raise.
Yeah, I think he basically decided, he read it right on the flop that his opponent had none of it, but he still left a bluff open for Shane, and that's exactly what
I
happened.
guess he had to get all the chips in, all the cash in the middle if he wanted to get some of it in.
Check.
Wow, what a flop this is. Top
Check.
set here for
Check.
Rene. And an up and down straight
1,000.
Dane will be
for
very
Rene,
happy.
but he's induced a bluff here from Shane.
Pass.
Shane's had a stab for 1,000. I bet he's not going to get rid of Rene. But a straight draw here as well for Piers.
Yeah, 7 or queen would make Piers the nut hand. And he could get stuck in the middle here if Rene decides to go for more dough.
Well, he's got away from it. He's going to be pleased about that when he hears about Rene.
That was a very tight fold by Piers.
Call.
Oh, flat call. There could be a fireworks here if a queen comes down.
So the Dane setting a trap as big as Agenor. Turn card coming, and Shane is drawing nearly dead.
Oh, it's a queen. Shane's just hit top pair. It could be time for the Danish man to put the dent in the man from Hull.
Piers Wyman will be crucifying himself. He's sitting there knowing he passed the nut straight. But meanwhile, Rene ready to spring the jaws on Shane.
Well, he's been running over the table up until now. I think he's just about.
Well, you have to admire
double up Rene.
Yeah, you have to admire the way Rene's played this. I mean, this is how you have to play against a bully, isn't it, Gary? Duck and dive and open a trap.
Okay.
And Shane has just asked the question: are you gonna raise?
3,000. What's the rate?
3,000.
Well, there's no way I can see Shane passing this now. He's caught the queen.
200 more. 3,200 more.
3,000.
And he is drawing dead. He could pick any card he liked out of the deck and it would not help. This pot is going to Denmark, and that is going to be a big dent for Shane.
Well, this pot is 15,000 pounds in cold sterling 50 notes. And 3 9s is the best hand. Piers Wyman could have had a straight if he had only paid the grand. But as it is, a huge double through by Rene Mouritsen. And has that wounded Shane Collinson? You bet it has. He's back down to level par. New chip leader in town from out of town. And Shane can only rue that card on the turn.
Yeah, that card's really cost him.
So Rene Mouritsen says, I came here to play. Will the Dane take down these lads? Come back after this. That last hand, Gary, the counter puncher against the heavyweight.
Yeah, we had Shane Collinson here, caught with his fingers in the pie. Rene played it perfect against the bully. He flopped the top set and then let him bury himself. And this is how it happened.
Yeah, when the queen came on the turn, Shane was stuck in there against the 3 9s, drawn dead.
Yep, there was never going to be anything other than fireworks once that card came down. And it was suddenly Rene Mouritsen, who's now our chip leader, with 15,200 pounds in front of him.
And, you know, Rene told me that when he was in Las Vegas at the World Series last month, he won every time he sat down in a cash game. And I guess he figured out a strategy here about how to deal with Shane Collinson.
Yeah, perfect play against a bully. If he's there, just keeps on firing. All you have to do is flop a hand, close your eyes, throw your chips in the middle, and you're probably going to catch them, because Shane was never going to back down once he caught that queen.
The saving grace for Shane, the money that he won early on in this poker den heat will serve him well. He's now only about 1,000 pounds under where he started, so still well in this game. But those stacks of red bills in front of Rene Mouritsen, a chip lead, and straight back into the action. Will Shane keep bullying through? No, he's tightened up a little.
Yeah, looks like that might put him on the back foot a little.
Raise.
The birdball's gone down a bit. Doesn't seem to be too much between Shane and Tony G right now. They're both at the bottom of the pile.
Kevin Post has announced turn up the volume a bit, and he'll riffle through his bills.
600 in total.
6
And,
total.
we're still in the first level of blinds here, 100, 200 pounds.
Five.
Now 600 pounds is the bet, cleverly counted out by Amanda, which will put 500 pounds on Piers in the small blind. And we haven't seen much of Lou Huseyin yet this evening. Will he peel off a flop with this?
He might do. It's only 400 more, but he has played quite a cautious game so far, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him muck this one.
You're right.
And Piers, who's in the small blind just now, he must be kicking himself, because the last hand he played, if he'd have played his 10 jack to the end, he would have actually ended up with the with a straight to break both of them.
Pass.
Good time.
So Lou Hussein showing some respect to this boy from down the road. Kevin Post taking one down. And it seems like that being here in the den before has served Kevin Post well. He's been very comfortable and sort of improved his stack without getting into any danger at all.
Yeah, and he hasn't had to have a monster every time. He's been raising it up with some half hands, and he's still managed to keep himself in there with
It's late for me, I've been up
well,
early.
very mediocre. He's up to 9,200. And you'd hardly know he was there.
Post is a bit of a monster on the internet. Shane does his dirty work in the live games up in Hull at the Napoleon Casino. And clubs don't come too much tougher than that. I'm sure all the lads up there rooting for the blaster here.
Call.
Call.
And he's found a king, puts the 200 pounds in the pot.
Pass.
Pass.
Passed around to Tony G, who has a very thin wedge here. This might be a playable hand.
Call.
Well, he's happy to see a flop with a king 10 of diamonds. And right now, he's got Shane in pretty bad shape. But Piers sitting there
Raise.
with a very nice ace jack, and he says raise.
8 to play.
This is the first
800
loud
total,
noise
I
we've
would
heard
say.
from Piers. Suited blackjack on the button. Says make it 800 pounds to play.
Pass.
That's 600 pounds around. And Shane is in a spot now where he needs to think about his money.
Call.
Fear not part of Collinson's vocabulary.
Well, one thing you couldn't say about his game so far is he certainly isn't cautious, and he's thrown caution to the wind a bit here, putting 600 in with just the king 8.
If Tony G calls this 600 pounds, it'll be a pretty good percentage
Tony's making himself busy.
of his remaining money. And this pot now, 2,700 pounds, very close to the amount of dosh that Tony G has left in front of him.
Yeah, he really needs to win this one if he's going to have any chance of taking the money back.
Flop to come, and Piers looking for the ace.
2, 8, queen.
Look at that. Shane
Check,
Collinson's
check.
the guy who's hit the flop.
Yep, nothing for anyone else, but it's check round to Piers. Let's see if he wants to
12.
have a stab at it.
1,200.
He does. He's bet 12.
Call.
That's a
Call.
big bet on no pair, and he won't like to see the quick
Pass.
call from Shane Collinson riffling off 800 little poundsies and putting them into the center. Over 5 grand in this one. Action on Shane when the turn card comes. Jack or ace?
Ace.
Ooh, that's not the card he wanted to see.
Check.
It's a great one for Piers now. He's going to feel a little bit more confident.
2,000.
Yeah, he's just been
2,000.
delivered candy for Christmas.
Pass.
But a good pass here from Shane. He recognises the ace is a
Well, I
scare
stand at this
card.
level. The blinds are now 2 and 4.
Okay, that one makes it now.
So pot to Piers, and tournament director Mad Marty Wilson says, raise the blinds, raise the limits, and that pot will bring Piers up to second position with 11,000 pounds.
Yeah, with 11 large in front of him, he's going to be feeling a little bit more settled now. Just got to get the remaining 40 off the rest of the players to be walking out of here. 50 large better off.
Shane Collinson counting his remaining bills, and he's got to stick 400
Half
pounds in
off.
the pot in the big blind. This game creeping ever so inchward upward. 600 pounds before the cards are dealt. Action now, Kevin Post.
Pass.
Yeah, the two that were most vocal at the start, sitting at the bottom now. 3,000 in front of Tony G
Pass.
and 5,200 for Shane Collinson. They've both gone awfully quiet as well.
Yeah, they really have. Champions biting the dust around this poker
Pass.
table. And it's only 200 pounds now. If Rene wants to take on Shane,
Call.
this becoming quite a familiar matchup. Shane has revenge on his mind. He'll have a little look-see and the option to raise.
800 quid in the middle before Shane looks at his cards.
No raise.
He's happy to see the flop.
Pretty close between these two. Action now on Rene when the flop comes down. And here it is.
2 Queen 8.
And as is common in No Limit Hold'em, best hand before the flop, still the best hand now. Check, check, turn card for free.
Diamonds on the turn. Exactly the same flop. The cards just come the same.
King.
That has hit Rene
Check.
square and center, and he's
Check.
setting another trap.
Well, Shane's already learnt his lesson. He's checked that one again.
Talk about the dangerous
4.
Dane. He's playing quite a cagey match indeed.
Did you have before ace queen?
Well, his only chance to get any money out of this pot would be to check it. Hope that Shane has a stab, but no, he's going to have a bet. And I think that's going to be the end of this one. Unless Shane decides to get creative.
500. Pass.
Nickel ball in the center takes care of Shane Collinson this hand. And Rene Mouritsen, who runs a few private games himself, excelling tonight in this one. PartyPoker.com Poker Den action.
Yeah, he's our early chip leader with 15,400. The pot he won earlier on,
Everyone's good at
you
the
just saw 15 grand pushed in front of him. That's a new car he actually watched go from Shane Collinson across to Rene.
They're not lying, they're just not telling the truth.
It's much easier to take those losses when they're chips, but when someone's actually doing the cold hard cash leaving your hands and going across to the opponent, it hurts a lot more, I can tell you.
Tony, from the top of the pile to the bottom.
Tony G in a spot where he just
I'm
wants
on the bottom
to take the
firmly.
money and run.
I
Not
haven't-
going well
For
for
the
him.
2 shows, and the second show, I never had a hand on this thing yet. But I don't need a hand.
Tony says the cards have not been fair.
Raise.
But
Raise.
that's poker.
12 to play.
Piers,
12
who's
on
on
this
top
table.
of a big
Raise it
stack of
800.
mustard,
Just
says
turn.
raise it up. And that's 1,200 pounds total. Triple the bet here, Gary.
Yeah, not too bad a strategy.
Pass.
Putting the pressure on. Rene on the button. 2 face cards. Is it playable?
I don't think he's going to want to get involved with his the man out there who can really do him some damage.
Call, yeah?
But Shane, the same too, peeling one off. And, oh, a bit of a tester. A knee trembler for Kevin Post.
It's a horrible hand to take up against 2 people. Does he want to narrow it down, get rid of the... shove his chips in the middle and hope to pull them all back? Is he going to see a flop? Try and catch a 9 like Rene.
It'll cost Kevin 800 pounds to call here.
It's an awful lot of money to put in there to hope to catch a 9.
And he won't know where he's at if he does call, will he?
On a rise.
Well,
Re-raise.
he's decided to play it aggressive, push the 9s. He's out in front right now.
400 there, man.
Just look at those percentages.
12.
Well, he doesn't.
33 each.
Kevin doesn't have the most confident
right.
demeanor of all time, but the cash will do the talking here. That's about
Rise
800.
1,000 above that.
800 a call, a grand more. That's not going to chase
Oh, sorry.
anybody.
Never 50. So we put another 200 there.
Well, he's got to make it up to
Re-raise.
2,400.
1,200 more, 24
Why don't you just
total.
put 2 of
That's a
those and
very
then
small
raise it?
re-raise.
Doesn't matter. 2 of those and the 400 you have.
Yeah, Mad Marty Wilson saying the re-raise
been
must
easier.
be equal to the existing bet. So it's a total of 2,400 pounds. And Piers Wyman, well, he's in a situation here, Gary, where he could be drawn very thin.
Yeah, he might think he's up against a bigger ace. If he's up against ace, king, ace, queen, he's in bad shape, and that's what's made him release.
Call.
But I don't think
Call.
Shane's the sort of person to go away for just 1,200 more.
Well, and if a queen or jack hits this board, you have to fancy Shane Collinson's remaining 5,000 pounds hitting the center.
Ace, 6.
Well, that would have been the ace for Piers if it had stayed in.
Check.
Check.
That ace might scare Kevin as well. Where is he at now? And will he be deterred?
They're all stacks of 1,000, Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin pretending to count his money, but really, he's in a bit of a pickle here, Gary, isn't he?
How much can he afford to blow at this one?
And he'll look over and see if Shane's giving any information away. Good luck. It's like trying to read a rock slide.
2,000.
Wow.
2,000.
Now if Shane moves here, Gary, he could take the lot.
2,000 with the last bit.
He has!
He has, but I don't think he's got enough to get rid of him.
Yeah.
He's sticking it all in. And Shane actually drawing pretty live here. And the livest
400 more to call.
possibility.
Only 400 more.
400.
I don't think that
Cool.
Kevin can pass this now. If he'd have just bet the 2,400, he might have picked up the pot. But this way, he's now drawing to 6 cards. He's got to find a queen or jack, but we've seen Rene pass a queen and a jack. So that's just 4 cards left in the deck for him.
So this bare knuckle fighter, Shane Collinson, he's raising 2 daughters on his own, Holly and Poppy at home, and they'll be rooting for a queen or jack to hit this board, or else we have lost a player.
8.
4 cards in the deck for Shane Collinson here. There's 10 grand in the pot. And can the blaster pull one out on the river? It's got to be a queen or jack. No!
Cheers, boys.
Shane Collinson,
Thanks
he's
very
gone
much.
from first to out
Take care,
the
bud.
door.
See you later.
All the gold, the
See you
bluff
later.
and bluster hasn't helped. He played strong poker here though, Gary.
No problem.
He certainly didn't. If he hadn't run into a hand from Rene earlier on, I think he could still be running over this table. But unfortunately for him, he did. And that's meant he's the first man out the door. His style is go for gold. And that's what he was doing. It's only one prize. It's 50 large for the winner. And he was going for it from the off.
So the warrior, the Irish warrior, Shane the Blaster Collinson, is out in 6th. And looking at that hand again, when the money went in, Collinson was bluffing, trying to represent the ace. Post was not to believe. And the queen or jack did not come on the Turner River, so a pair of 9s takes the money down.
Yeah, I think if Shane had have actually blasted this one from the off, the 2,400, once that flop comes down, would have been an awful lot harder for Kevin Post to call the bet. But as it happens, Kevin's picked up the pot, and that puts him pretty well level with Rene at the top of the leaderboard.
Still 5 here, and Kevin Post delighted about the turn of events.
It's a dead button, Jesse.
He's got double what he started with. Marty Wilson has announced it'll be a dead button. That's because Shane Collinson went out in the blinds, Gary, so the button will not move.
Exactly. Every player has to post the big blind and the small blind, no matter what happened. So we now have what's called a dead button. And it's as if Shane Collinson was still in the seat and he had the button.
Big blind on Tony G for the 400. Now with 5 players left, those blinds will start coming around a bit faster. They're forced bets to get the action going. And 600 pounds around will catch your attention. Chip leader Rene Mouritsen not taking on the field with the 9 deuce Montana banana.
Well, just heads up here with Tony G. He's got the chips, and he's got half a hand here with the 10 jack. He's going to put the pressure on the short chip man, Mr. Tony G.
Yeah, Post looks a little bit like a lamb in sheep's clothing, but not scared of the tongue-tied Tony G. Raising it up.
4,000 total.
Well, this could be enough for Tony G to draw a line in the sand.
No, the blonde's 200, 800 total.
800 total.
Is that right? Is that right?
4,000. Yeah, so he needs to put in, he said 600, but he has to put in.
600. 200 more. That's
200
200,
more,
400.
yeah,
Just
sorry.
put 200 more.
One thing about Tony G, he takes his time, Gary, tries to get a read off the other players.
600 to
And
four.
Yeah, he's usually engaging them in enough conversation that he can possibly pick up some sort of a tell on what the opponent's got, how much he likes his hand, how much he doesn't. Don't think he's picked up too much of Kevin so far.
Raise all in.
well, he picked up just enough, and if Kevin Post calls, he'll be dominated. Tony G making the re-raise, striking like a cougar here.
2,000 more.
Cool.
Well, he's raised it up 2,000. It's a call from Kevin. He's hoping both his cards are live, but he's going to be disappointed to find out his 10 is in Tony G's hand, but Tony's sitting with a better kicker. He's got the king,
I mean, Gary, this is just a situation where Kevin Post would be delighted to have an opportunity to knock Tony G out. But unless a jack hits this board, Tony G will be terrifying from Kevin's left. Tony all in,
7,
and the king plays right now.
3.
Yeah, the king's still good.
Got the backdoor flush.
There's 3 jacks in the deck. That will send the Australian mouth of the South scrambling for air.
Well, that 3 does mean a 7 would be a split pot.
Right you are.
Right? We don't want a 7.
Kevin Post just praying for the hook. And here's the river.
It's an 8, and that is a good card for Tony G. He's doubled up, and he's right back in the action now.
With that guy, that was such a...
Kevin Post might have seen this in his nightmares. Tony G on his left with chips. And Gary, was that too loose a call? Too hopeful, maybe?
Well, he was getting 2 to 1 for the last 2,000. So I don't think he's done too much wrong by calling that. Once he called the 1,000, it was pretty well convinced to have to call the other 2. So, but now, as you can hear, Tony G has won a pot. The mouth is speaking. And he is right back in action.
You'll have trouble closing this mouth. The long craw of Tony G. Will he use it to his advantage? 5 left on the partypoker.com Poker Den. Shane Collinson, maybe not here for such a long time, but a good time. The beauty of No Limit Hold'em. When you bash, you get money in the pot. And Shane Collinson on the wrong end there of a 50-50 race. The overcards versus the pocket pair taking the walk. And Gary Jones looking at this pie chart now. Who is the danger?
Well, we've already seen Slow and Steady gets the money. That was Rene early on when he flopped the set against Shane. But I've been most impressed with Kevin, actually. His second time here at the partypoker.com Poker Den, and he's showing he's got the experience to actually go on and do well here. I've been very impressed with how he's played. But Tony G, he's just double up. He's got 6,000, and you cannot write out the mouth just yet.
He's a great talker, a great reader of cards as well. But look in there. That is Kevin Post's stack of money, and the chip leader, Rene Mouritsen. The danger is Dane. All of a sudden looking very comfortable. Tony G says winner gets to meet Shane in the parking lot. Not an enviable task, but Shane had a heart of gold here tonight. He just came up on the wrong end. And Lou Huseyin, the glasses are off, but the raising fingers are out. Ace Queen under the gun.
Yeah, he's been quite quiet so far, playing a solid game, Lou.
And you have to figure that's the kind of bet that's going to get respect. Lou playing the tight game so far. We'll see if anyone wants to challenge him. We are live here, the partypoker.com Poker Den.
And, no one's coach enough to take me on these things. I make good decisions usually, heads up in these situations.
Money going down.
It wasn't 50-50. Anyway, 11 to 4.
And Tony's talking about...
but I mean, when you raise, it works out to 50-50.
Gary,
if you raise all the time and I pass sometimes.
You'd have had 9 king.
He's really milking the fact that he made a good read on Kevin. Wants to instill the idea in Kevin's head that he can read him dry.
Yeah, put a bit of fear into your opponent's heart. He starts second guessing himself, Kevin. Tony G's already won.
If I get some hands, I'll be the favorite.
New dealer in the box, the lovely Kelly, printing the tickets. Lines at 2 and 400, and your chip leader, your cash leader, the money counter, Rene Mouritsen, folding up shop.
Oh, cool.
Cool. 400.
A little bit of limping in going here from Kevin. Is he going to get the hammer put down on him from the left?
He may well do. It's not a usual strategy that most people employ, just to limp in. You want to put the pressure on the blind sometimes, but it can work. Especially if the rest of them are playing quite cautious, and that seems to be what's happening. Now he's just up against the 9-3 of Lou, and I can't imagine Lou being too creative with this hand.
Option to raise?
No.
not exercise, so there will be 1,000 pounds in the pot. Boy, these pots are rocketing up.
Yeah, they are getting big very quickly.
Not a bad day's wages. And this could be the danger of letting a player in for free here. Gary Lou's flopped a pair.
He has. It's going to be a question of how much he likes it. It's been a check from him.
You don't seriously have to double check a hand every time, do you?
Kevin's just investigating his cards once again.
Kevin
So he's got to think the 9's probably good now.
Yeah. Kevin blowing an opportunity to bluff. Here's the turn card.
7.
And that could be a good card for Lou. It's a pair for Kevin.
1,000 score.
A cool dime in the middle in poker parlance, 1,000 pounds. And that has put Kevin Poast to the decision. And Gary, he really has no idea where he's at, does he?
Nope, not a chance. Unless he can pick up some sort of read from Lou. Well, he's made a good lay down there. He's got the 3rd pair on the board. And Lou takes that one down. He's played quite a cautious game so far, Lou, and that's probably why he hasn't got any action here off Kevin.
Yeah, Lou taking the money. Lots of money to be won here. But, of course, you at home, you sitting in the armchair, you can win, too. We've got a competition, and let's see what you can win. We're giving you the chance of having a Poker Den game round your gaff. We'll bring a table, a dealer, and a set of chips for you and your mates to have a night of serious poker. You get to keep the table and chips as a little memento and get a very private invitation to watch our last Poker Den in East London. We'll even chuck in a hotel for the night. All you have to do to win is answer this question. Which hand includes 3 of a kind and a pair? Is it A, full hat, B, full house, or C, full hooray? It's free to enter. All you have to do is go to www.challenge.co.uk/pokerden and answer the question. Entrants must be 18 or over, and the competition closes on August 1st.
You're not going the right
A
way about
full complement of money on the table. Mad Marty Wilson monitoring the action and doling out the alcohol.
Over there.
It's Chinese hieroglyphs, right?
Unless he's talking about.
And Kevin Poast, by the end of this night, Gary, he may only be able to hear out of one ear, and it's not going to be his left in.
No, that's true. He's getting beaten up in a verbal sense from Tony G.
That's right.
A little bitty
1,100
ace for Tony
to
G.
play.
He says
1,100.
that it's worth 1,100 pounds. That's 4 plus 7. And it will be 11 on Piers, who can't much like that king off suit.
900, cool.
Just the blinds to deal with now.
Pass.
And we have not seen Tony and Rene match up in a pot as of yet.
Well, Tony pretty well didn't play a pot for the first 8 or 9 hands. He kept his nose clean, kept himself out of trouble.
Bit of an action hand there for Rene.
Yeah, he's decided to play suited connectors. He can afford it. He's got the money at the moment. And he's up against Tony
could
G.
be out, right? Let's go.
Sitting there with a weak ace. He's not going to know what he wants to hit.
Tony rubbing his hands and saying,
7,
let's
4,
gamble.
5.
But this flop is all Danish. Top pair and the flush and the straight draw.
Yeah, he's got
Check.
top pair up and down straight. And Tony G
Check.
could catch an ace or a deuce here. A deuce would be a real nasty card.
King.
And a 6 would actually make Tony the bottom end of the straight as well.
Check. Check.
I'm
Wow.
glad you're here, Jesse.
Wow, Tony doing well to not get deep involved.
He's happy to take the free cards.
Yeah.
He thinks he might be in front with the ace. Well, he is now. And the Danes laid one trap too many.
Check.
I mean, Gary, has to be a clever hand from Tony G here. Any spot on the flop and turn, had he stuck money in the pot, he could have gotten booted right out. But now on the river, he's jumped ahead and is sticking the cash in.
Well, I don't know if he knows how much he likes his ace here.
I'll bet about half the pot, says
1200
Tony
score.
G. And that has put Rene to to one of those rueful glances towards his money. If only, if only.
Yeah, I bet he's wishing he'd bet his hand now. That ace, probably the worst card in the deck as far as he's concerned.
So a good laydown from Rene, but the look that says, I messed that one up. Tony will rub salt right in the wounds.
Of course I'm happy.
Well, that's what he's
Everybody
here for.
should
He's
be
got
happy.
himself from
He gets the same a
3,000
little
up
bit
to
longer.
7,100. And you can't
So I
write
played
this
it
man
well.
out yet.
And why did you lay it down?
Again.
You made a good lay there. Devil Fish would have called me because there's too much money in the pot. I made a good
Tony
play.
G's insulting people that aren't even here.
That's an art.
I had out.
Maybe someone didn't tell him that Shane's a friend of
I think that was
David. He
fair.
could be on the phone from him right now.
And a backdoor flush.
So that will lift Tony G. It's basically the most money he's had in front of him since about the second hand of this PartyPoker.com Poker Den tournament. There's 50,000 pounds in cash on this table, and 800 pounds is the bet announced
Okay,
from
raise
Tony
400.
G. He's not shy about getting the money back in there.
Well, he knows there's only one prize. They're here to get the lots. And even though he hasn't got much of a hand,
No, I mean, you talk about off to the races. 6 high for Tony.
He
But
can call blind.
has he struck fear
400.
in the hearts of his competitors?
Solid. You guys are solid now. Come on.
so he's just picked up another 600.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I feel like I'm a chip leader, but I'm not.
When you've been down real low,
I'm allowed
suddenly
to feel
getting
like
7,000, 8,000 in front of you.
Well, Tony, I heard him talking before the game began. He told everyone at the table, I will try and upset you. But it's only table talk. That's just part of his game, Gary.
It certainly is.
He was in a tournament at a final television table last year where one guy he knocked out wouldn't even shake Tony's hand. Tony had gotten him so riled up. But that's the way you win the money. That's part of live poker.
Attack. Here comes the attack. Don't feel sorry.
Tony's in the big blind.
Be
and
careful with your money.
He wants Rene to know he's got his eye on him. Will Rene
I
be deterred?
warn him. I give him all the chances.
Well, Rene's heard it all before. He's raised it anyway with just a weak queen. That's a button steal. And no matter how much Tony G tried to convince him not to do it, he still did it.
It was a silent raise from Rene. He let Kelly the dealer count the money out. And 1,000 pounds more. Call and raise, Tony says. All in.
Well, he certainly stepped it up
make a
again.
stand at the end of the day.
I'm playing, sir.
This no limit hold'em is a
I've gotta make a
beautiful
stand
game,
with my big
and
hands.
that's one of the bets that cannot be outdone. Come over the top of this, says Tony G. With the worst hand, he has put his
gonna
foot
slow
in
play
the
that
mouth
little
of the Dane and keeping his own mouth open, Gary.
He certainly has. That's Tony G for you. He warned him. He said don't come on the button. He might have picked something up that he was weak. But he shoved all his chips in the middle, and that's got him right back in it. He's now third out of the players left.
You talk about not making the same mistake twice. Tony G, the re-raises are all in this time. This game is on. Still 5, but it's a tight match at the Poker Den. Jesse May here from the smoky underground of East London with poker pro Gary Jones. And Gary, this game has tightened around the edges.
It certainly has. And Tony G is the only one that seems to be taking it by the scruff of the neck. He's pulled himself back from 3,000 up to 9,300. And he is right back in it.
Looking at that bet frequency, Piers Whyman, tightest player in the pack.
Yeah, I'm surprised about that because it's Lou Huseyin who I've seen who hardly made a move in this heat so far. But yeah, it looks like these two players are the ones that are going to have to open up again because the blinds are going to be going up soon. And they're going to have to try and find a few hands.
Yeah, this game all about who will do the raising first, or the raising last, as it may be. And one man who knows quite a bit about raising, the big money kind, is Devilfish Elliott.
Okay, when to raise? Well, if you're raising to take the blinds, 3 times the blind is the normal size raise, and that's fine, you know. If you always raise 3 times the blind, people don't get a fix on there, you know. Right, secondly, if you're trying to raise or re-raise to take a pot off someone, sometimes it's necessary to move all your chips in. It depends how many chips you have and what position your chip stack's in. And if you're playing against a mug, make sure you haven't got one foot out the door and the other one on a banana skin, because he's going to call you and he's going to have your pants down.
So raise, obviously a strong move, but as the Devilfish said, Gary, and Tony G just showed us, the re-raise probably the strongest move in Hold'em.
Yeah, it certainly is. Especially when you move all in, you leave no more options for your opponent. He knows he's got to have a hand. And Rene really didn't fancy his chances in that last pot, even though he had the best hand with the queen high.
Blind still 200 and 400 pounds. And Kevin Poast has found the ace on the button.
Raised 1,200 total.
Always take me on.
1,200 pounds straight from Kevin Poast.
Well, he just came over the top of the last person to make a button steal. He gives a bit more respect here to Kevin.
Poast picking on the tightest player at the table, Piers, who has no cards to counter. And, you know, this hand over before it started, Gary, but really, that's 600 pounds for Kevin Poast. The guys with the raising hands are going to be taking the money, and now Mad Marty Wilson has announced, raise the blinds. There's even more money in the pot before the cards are dealt.
Yeah, there's almost £1,000 in the pot before they even get their cards. It's starting to get expensive just to sit here and watch.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Lou Huseyin, the short stack on about 8,600 pounds, if he just sits out for 5 rounds, he'll be nearly broke.
Yeah, he can't afford to do that. He's going to have to open up his game sometime soon, start raising with some questionable hands like some of the rest of them are.
Yeah, this pressure cooker set to Whirlybird now, and it'll be 400 pounds on Kevin. Oh, that's a nice card. And
yeah, well, they're not questionable. You can play these. And he's just raised the last one.
They say good things come in bunches.
Do something.
I will.
I'm glad. I might fall asleep here.
Tony's just sticking the verbal in.
It's past. It's the right thing to do.
You got that champagne to get you awake.
Certainly do.
Oh, cool.
Trying to set a trap here, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it looks like he's trying to mix it up a little, lay a little trap with the ace-king.
Will anybody be
I'm only playing good hands today. You know, I promise that.
undignified here? Tony G not
play good
fooled.
today. Play only the winners.
He's mucked the hand and reached for the champagne. I'm surprised he gets a chance to gulp it down. The amount he keeps his mouth open.
Spread some action.
Piers Wyman playing the sawmill, and if a king pops on the
There's
board,
champagne.
it could put him into a bit of trouble.
Well,
No
this
brand
flop's going to be
champagne.
seen three-handed. Plenty of chances for some people to get into some trouble in this pot. Let's see if Kelly can bring something for us.
Action on Piers Wyman. But here, the worst hand before the flop is the best hand now. Lou Huseyin hitting the 8-ball.
It's only the middle pair. It's going to be a question of how much he likes it if someone decides to have a pop, and this man is favourite.
You can see Kevin Post. He's saying, why didn't I raise before the flop? Needing an ace or a king now. Turn
Yeah,
card.
I think he was laying the trap for Tony G, and as soon as Tony G passed, he regretted it.
This could make Lou happy.
Gotta fancy his hand right now.
1,200.
Not shy is this East Londoner. And peeling that bill, that wrapper carefully off the bills and counting out 1,200 quid. Is Lou saying that'll take it, huh?
I'd have thought so, unless Kevin decides to be creative with his ace-king. He's just going to look back. They are very pretty, but right now, quite a bit behind.
So hard to fold that ace-king.
He was born an anchor. was meant to hold the boats down, but decided to become a poker player.
Tony not making it any easier on Kevin, trying to think with a clear head here.
Pass.
We've got to make a rule for you, like you got 15 seconds of the clock kicking in.
The 1,200-pound bet from Lou Huseyin takes the money, and that keeps him well in touch.
Enjoy the game.
Moves him up to third position.
Yeah, that was Kevin trying to be a bit clever with his ace-king there. Tony G not falling for it. He was the man I'm sure that Kevin was laying the trap for. And Lou was the man that benefited. He's going to be happy to take that one down with some filth. The 8-3 of hearts. 8-3 of spades, rather.
Yeah, a trash hand. Taking the sterling there. And Kevin Post, his glasses go up. Now they come down, and he'll lock in on these two cards. Praying for aces.
That's the look of a man squeezing for the boots, but he can't find them.
You didn't fancy him playing trash there. Button play now for Piers Whyman. It's a glitzy shirt, but his play has been dead on.
Yeah, going with his nickname here. Piers, the Rock Whyman.
This could be the first pot that Lou has raised tonight. They've played about 21 hands. And will Rene have noticed that Lou is a bit reticent to stick money in before the flop?
Raise 2,000 more.
Well, that's a mighty big raise. It's 2,600 to play. £2,000 more to Rene, and he says no thank you.
Yeah, call me a taxi. And Lou shows the hand. Bit of advertising there?
Well, I think he wants to make sure that his opponent knows that he's not just stealing his blinds. Maybe setting him up for some blind steals later on. We'll see if he does. As you can see, not a bad win-loss record. Played 6 and won 4. The only one I ever really want to win is the last one. I don't care if I've only had to win one hand to get there.
Blinds coming out. There's something about those 50-pound notes that are mighty attractive. Pocket full of them in every player's possession.
And someone will be leaving with a duffel bag full of them. Reminds me of the story of Julian Gardner.
Yeah, 1.1 million in cash down in Binions he won a couple of years ago as a 24-year-old lad. But did you see Tony G folding the ace-8 early? What was that about?
Well, he's definitely got a game plan. I just wish he'd tell us what it is.
But look at this, though. Lou Huseyin has just announced 1,800 pounds.
Well, he seems to have found his voice, because he doesn't have much in the way of cards.
No, he hasn't stuck the money in the pot yet. But if this pot gets played, he's going to be quivering like a corkscrew of arrows. Kevin Post has got him well out-duped.
Well, he's decided to call. This is going to be a mighty big pot.
Oh, that's not what Lou wanted to see. He's sitting there on 4 high, and that is not a happy state of affairs when there's 3,900 pounds in the pot. Lou looks like a monkey without his banana. Let's see the flop.
Well, he's going to like that flop. Look at that. I'm willing to bet he checks this one. He's going to have to lay a trap.
You talk about manna from heaven. Well,
1%. The chances of catching a king-king or 10-10. Well, he's reaching for a chips, but I'm willing to bet he's not going to lose Lou.
Yeah, Post is going to have to mail home for more money if he stays in this pot. He's stuck in a wad of dough, and look at Lou. He's just, what's he thinking to himself, Gary?
How on earth am I going to play this one? That cash to Kevin's just stuck in the pot. Like a dream. He probably goes home and dreams about pots like this.
Oh, there's 1,200 pounds is the bet.
How am I going to get any more? He's decided to call.
I mean, that's the right thing to do here, Gary.
Of course it is. If a king or 10 comes down now, Kevin is going to throw the rest of his cash in the middle. And Lou will be sitting pretty. It's just getting funnier and funnier here. He's got 3s full of 4s, 4s full of 3s. Any card he plays, he makes a full house.
Yeah.
And Kevin Poast is still reaching for his money.
2 full houses, and Kevin Poast is strangled like an octopus. Huseyin has got 8 tentacles around this board. Interestingly enough, Poast is drawing dead.
Well,
every nerve alive in Lou Husein's frame. He's tingling. And he's called again. He's letting the Poast hang himself from the high gallows. There's 10 grand in this pot.
King or 10 here for Kevin.
Yeah, Poast couldn't be sorrier right now. How did I get stuck into this?
If he catches it, he may well bury himself even more. Is he going to carry on the bluff?
He could do the whole cigar here.
Well, he's finally got wise.
I mean, how about this? You raise with 3-4, Gary. Not only do you flop a full house, but the other guy bluffing into you.
Now the question is, how much do I bet that I might get paid? Too large seems like a nice amount. There's 10,000 in the middle.
Just
give my opponent 6 to 1 to call. Oh no, he's bet the lot. He was never going to get a caller anyway, so it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, Kevin Poast beat even by an ace, but Lou Husein's done well there, and Kevin Poast dived into the deep water there with not a stroke to win.
Well, he's starting to glow there, Lou. He's just won a nice pot, and that is going to make him our chip leader.
And didn't have to show the hand. Look at that hand again. Raise with a 3-4. Well, if the flop comes 3-4-3, you do. Full house for Lou Huseyin, and Poast not betting, bluffing. 4s full of 3s, taking the money. But somebody who is on the arm quite regularly, of course, Dave the Devilfish Elliott.
Okay, luck. Well, I mean, bad luck runs in my family. My great-grandfather was marooned on a desert island with no food and water for 3 months until the Titanic picked him up. Luck's a very big thing in poker, especially no-limit hold'em. I would say 60% of no-limit hold'em is luck. You've only got to watch it on the TV and see the bad beats these suckers put on the fish to know. You got to be lucky, baby.
As the Devilfish says, I'd rather be lucky than good. A bit of both on this poker table. Will Lou Huseyin find the lucky clover? There's still 5 here on the partypoker.com Poker Den. More poker action to come. Five golden rings remain. We've lost 1 here on the partypoker.com Poker Den. Shane Collinson, who had all the gold, but he's threatened to come back next week with his lad Jack for moral support. And looking at this pie chart, Gary Jones, Huseyin starting to pull away.
Yeah, Lou, after winning that last pot, got himself up to 15,700. He kept himself well and truly out of trouble early on, but he's managed to get a nice reward with his 4-3 in the hand from earlier on. Kevin, who did nothing wrong trying to steal the pot, ran into him with an absolute monster.
And there is Lou Huseyin. I mean, is there any feeling better in poker than starting out a hand bluffing and just being delivered the goods?
That is pretty well poker heaven, that is. You just sit there, have them throw their chips at you. It's beautiful.
Competition time, and let's see what you can win. We're giving you the chance of having a Poker Den game round your gaff. We'll bring a table, a dealer, and a set of chips for you and your mates to have a night of serious poker. You get to keep the table and chips as a little memento and get a very private invitation to watch our last Poker Den in East London. We'll even chuck in a hotel for the night. All you have to do to win is answer this question. Which hand includes 3 of a kind and a pair? Is it A, full hat, B, full house, or C, full hooray? It's free to enter. All you have to do is go to www.challenge.co.uk/pokerden and answer the question. Entrants must be 18 or over, and the competition closes on August 1st. And if there's any man who could fill a hat, it's the thick skull of Tony G, who brings quite a lot of poker brawn here as well. The dash for the cash. Piers Wyman first to speak. Amanda now in the dealing box, but blind still the same, Gary. 3 and 600.
Yeah, £900 in the middle before they even look at their cards.
And the newly appointed chip leader, cash leader, the money
Raise.
man, Lou Huseyin,
1,500 total.
with stacks of bills in front of him. But it's Rene Mouritsen on the attack, sticking in 1,500 pounds in the center, putting the pressure on Kevin Poast.
Well, the last time he tried this play, Tony G moved all in against him with just Jack 7 of clubs. Let's see if he can pick up something this hand he wants to do the same with. Well, it's not as good as the Jack 7.
Pass.
So he says no.
Take it.
Surrender. Round 2 to Rene Mouritsen.
Take it. That's all they do.
And Gary, I mean, Rene had 2 face cards, but it wasn't the biggest hand in the world. I guess he's showing that he is not to be backed down by the verbal threats.
No, it would have been interesting to see what he did if Tony G had moved all in against him again. He might even have decided to gamble with him and call him, but we'll never know. Tony G didn't have the hand that he liked this time.
Poker, a game of money and steel nerves. Lou Huseyin has the money right now, that's for sure. 50,000 pounds on this table. And Lou tightening up. He's had good timing tonight, as has Rene.
Pass.
How will Kevin Poast regroup
Pass.
from his earlier blunders with the bluff?
Well, he's going to have to find
Raise.
some sort of a hand
Pass,
before he
pass,
starts
pass,
throwing
raise.
his cash in the middle.
15.
It's possibly not going to be quite as
1,500
brash as he was.
total. Nice shot.
Speaking of brash, here's Tony G
Yeah,
having a stab at this pot with £1,500 in the middle.
9 high. And Piers Wyman has
Pass.
Tony roped up like a lasso,
Pass.
but
Pass,
cannot
pass, pass,
stand
raise,
the pressure.
pass. See? That's the way. That's the way that one went.
And it's hysterical, Gary, because, I mean, Tony
We'll
has not
pass
been
it.
the loosest on the table, but when he makes a raise, he lets players know and talks about it for
pass
4
one.
hands after.
Only if he wins the pot, Jesse.
Yeah,
If he loses the pot,
definitely.
he goes quiet for quite a while. That's what happened to him earlier on when he ran into the immovable object of Shane Collinson.
It sure did.
Back to back.
Pass.
I tell you what, if Shane was still here, I'd fancy
Coast
him to
to
win it.
coast.
Pass.
Well, Shane will be back on the partypoker.com
I know,
poker den,
raise
that's for sure. And have
15.
2 in a row.
Raise
Button play
1,500
from Tony
total.
G. 1,500 pounds is his preferred operandi. And it's almost like he's got those 1,500 pounds on a rubber band, just sticking them in the pot at every.
Well, he's raising the current chip leader, and he's sitting there with 2 9s. He's not going to get away with it this time. It's a re-raise from Lou Huseyin.
Lou has not announced how much the raise is.
3,500 more.
3,500 more.
Oh,
total
that's
5,000.
serious stuff. And Tony, who only began this pot with about 9,000 pounds in cash, this would wound him. Is he seriously thinking about calling, Gary?
I can't imagine he's going to call this one. And I'm willing to bet
Take it, son.
he won't
What
be
hand
quite
you
as vocal
What
after
hand?
this one.
You got?
Have a guess. Come on, it's obvious.
Just open it.
Again.
Big hand. I wish I had a slightly bigger hand. I would have been alright. I had a good hand, actually. I had a good hand, but
Everything going
it
Lou
wasn't that easy to
Husein's
guess.
way.
2 9s. I would have guessed.
There's a diamond and a club last
Got
time.
a third of the chips in front of him now, Luke. 17.5 large. He can just pick up the rest. He'll be walking out of here with 50 lumps in his pocket.
Lou's got a nice plan here. He's showing all his big hands.
And
And
not, he didn't show the
No, he
3-4
did not
though, did
show
he,
the
Jesse?
3-4.
Pass.
He's setting himself up for the bluffs. But
Pass.
there's some wise cookies around this poker table. And Piers Wyman from Brighton. Is
Raise.
he
Raise.
the odd man
Deuce
out?
play.
No.
2,000 total.
Ace on the button.
14 to call.
2,000 poundaroonies.
Pass.
That one's going to get through. And those chips going to go to the man from Brighton. Piers picks that one up.
Always nice to pick up 900 pounds with barely a flutter. Piers Wyman, an internet qualifier, but he's showing a bit of flair for this live game.
He's kept himself out of trouble since he's been here. Not really committed too many chips without a real hand. And as long as he can keep himself steady and open up when he picks up some half hands later on, he's still in with a good chance.
8 high, nothing to shout home about, but only we can see them. And now JT suited on the button. That's one of those action hands, isn't it?
It's one of those half hands you don't know how to play half the time as well. It's
600 more, 12 total.
It's a great hand that works really good if you're going to get a lot of multi-way action, because you can make a lot of straights, a lot of flushes, and get a lot of cards to get some action. But it's not great at no limit hold'em. You quite often have to make a decision for all of your chips.
Kevin Poast saying he didn't have enough dosh to call the 600 double the bet. And uncontested for Lou Huseyin, who's got the specs now. And it seems, looks a bit like Ram Vaswani.
Yeah,
He's
there is
got
a bit
that
of Ram about him, isn't there?
Another great player from East London.
They're going to come around.
Lou seems to have that style and easygoing manner.
It's more fun.
6 to call. Pass.
Oh well, if Lou keeps this up, he's just going to run over this table, isn't he?
Looks like he's got his...
Pass.
Oh, well, I think he heard you.
How does the good sense come into people? It's unbelievable.
Stutter step.
Just the feeling.
And, you know, Rene needs a lot of courage to raise in this spot. Every time it's Rene's button, it's Tony G's big blind. And that's like spitting into the wind, isn't it?
A raise of 900.
Well, it's come back to hit him once already.
All in.
Wow.
Kevin's decided to draw a line in the sand. He's thrown the rest of his cash in the middle. You want to play, you got to pay.
Yeah, Post saying he's had enough.
5,300
And the ace-9 is good right now.
38 more.
And not an awful lot in it. And I think he's probably going to call for 3,800.
He has. We've got a race here for a big pot.
Yeah, this is going to be a monster, and it's Kevin Post's last chance on the line here. If he doesn't win this one, he's out the door.
Mouritsen with the edge. Post walking a thin blue line.
11 large in the middle.
Yeah, there's still 5 cards to come. And Post standing fixated on this board. He needs a king or a jack. And has not hit it yet, Gary.
Still 6 cards in the deck for him, but his chances are running out. That's 3 of them gone. He's got 2 more to go. Let's see if Amanda can bring him what he's looking for. There's a jack.
Hooked on this board front and center. Kevin Post has been brought back into this one 93% wise. Unless an ace hits the river, he's doubled up.
6.
It's a 6, so that pot goes across to Kevin Post. He's got himself right back in it.
He was drawing very thin in that deck. Can't believe it. Shake heads, but that's poker. Bit of an unlucky pot for Rene Mouritsen, but Post, blue stripes and all, back in this one, full force.
See you, Jeff. I am sorry.
Goes, I'll serve it.
So a little worse to first for Kevin Post, all in, needing a king or a jack, and he hit it on the turn. 2 pairs, jacks and 4s, taking the money over 1 pair only, and that has put Post back in business.
Yeah, it certainly has. Rene now the early chip leader after he got his chips off Shane Collinson. Is now at the bottom of the leaderboard.
A little Superman action turned from a short stack into a big one. Kevin Post with the dark shades. And look at all that money in front of Lou Huseyin. Everything's going his way, Gary.
Yeah, if he can double up, you probably won't be able to see him for the cash. Well, he's going to find half a hand here. On the way he's been playing, I'd expect him to raise this one up. Rene's giving him a bit of forewarning.
Well, Rene says, I'm on tilt. That's what he's talking about. A bit of a head spin there, Rene.
Well, it's worked. It's managed to stop Lou from raising this one.
But I don't think the Danes go on tilt. And Rene will gather himself back up. And Post resting on the button. So it's blind on blind now. Tony G.
I call.
On Brighton. Piers. And limp in from Tony G. What's he trying to get going here?
Well, I think he thought it would be a bit too obvious if he keeps raising the big blind. He probably expects himself to be able to outplay Piers on the flop. Let's see if he's right.
Two friends here, as Tony G says on the poker table, but this means a war.
1200.
Nice little flop for Tony. Middle pair. Taking a tester bet.
I know you thought I was bluffing, but I wasn't.
He shows the 9 because next time he will be bluffing.
Had the goods.
So this sailor in blue, Tony G, is cruising his way. He's really keeping his head above water. I mean, the cards have not really rubbed Tony's way, but he hasn't let that deter him.
I know he's shown just how well you can still play without getting cards. Some big re-raises. He put the pressure on this man earlier on. He was chip leader for quite a while, Rene, up to 15,000 nice and early. I think it was hand 9 he actually managed to double himself up, but it hasn't gone his way since then.
I mean, Rene's got 6,500 pounds in front of him. It's a lot of money, but in this game with these blinds, it's not so much.
14.
He's putting a little bit of play into it.
Total.
Gary, do you imagine that Rene is committed for all his chips should he get re-raised?
Well, he might be. He knows there's only one prize. Only one person out of this lot's going to be walking away with 50,000 in their pocket. There's no point in hanging around. If you're going to play, get your chips in the middle and try and give yourself a chance to win it. That was Shane Collinson's strategy. And if he hadn't run into Rene, it may well have worked.
Bet only 1,400 pounds. And Piers playing tighter than a drum, folding the ace.
8 call.
Lou Huseyin, though, does
Well.
not have a great hand to play against the King 10 of hearts.
But he's going to see a flop.
He sure is.
And he's in a bad spot. The King 4 up against the King 10. If a King comes on the board, we could see some fireworks.
Well, you've seen Huseyin have a propensity, an ability to do a bit of bluffing. Interesting to see. He might lead at this pot if he misses. There's 3,100 pounds in there, and Lou's eyes are straight on Rene, not the board.
5, Jack, 9.
Well, it's a straight draw for Rene, and not an awful lot for Lou.
See if Lou has picked up weakness. Boring into the Dane's ear.
Check.
Check.
Lump it in.
I'm not messing around. If you've got a jack, I've got 7 cards I should be able to hit. A king or a queen.
5,100.
And I'm just hoping you haven't got any of it.
Mouritsen is well used to cash on the table. He plays in private games all around Denmark.
Doesn't look very happy that Lou
sure
appears to be
doesn't.
holding it, counting his cash out.
I mean, this is one of those bets. If you can call, you can beat.
5,000.
100.
But Husein's just giving him a bit of a wind-up, isn't he?
I think he is. He's going to make him sweat for it.
I mean, Lou's got money to burn. He's got stacks all around him. But Rene gets this one through and picks up a couple thousand pounds on the back of it.
I'm about to stand up now.
And I believe him.
Probably threw away the winning hand, eh?
Oh, you threw away the highest hand.
Yeah.
I had a good drawing hand.
I don't know what he said, but I think he said thank you.
Yeah. But I had a backdown flush.
Oh, your back door was very optimistic.
Yeah.
If I had 60, I would have pulled 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, you probably would.
That was the most that Rene has spoken all night long. It was nearly an after-dinner speech. But he's pulled himself back in it and is now third in chips. Kevin Poast has a bit of Rene's money over there.
2,000 total.
I know where he got that, he says.
Raise a 14.
Looks like he's trying to add a bit more of Rene's money to his stack. He's trying to get his blind.
Yeah, there's 50 grand in 50-pound bills on this table. And Lou Huseyin has most of them. And it is that stage where Lou has enough money where he can pretty much scare anybody, can he? He can play almost any two cards because of his force.
Yeah, he can definitely put the pressure on. But I don't know if bullying in the re-racing style is part of his game. We've seen him try and make a button steal with the 4-3 earlier on and catch a very nice flop in the deal.
There's been a raise of 1,400 pounds from Kevin Poast. Action on Rene Mouritsen, the Dane. Who sticks his cards where his glasses are, high on the head.
The new blinds are 500 and 1,000.
And Mad Marty Wilson announces some news that will not be of any comfort to the short stacks, Gary. Raise the blinds again.
Yeah, 1,500 pounds in the middle before you even see your cards.
And that's really the factor of putting pressure on in poker, isn't it? I mean, it's going to come down to the strong right arms at this stage, won't it?
It certainly is. You've got to start picking up those with no hand. There's a TV in the middle before you even look at your cards. 1,500 pounds will buy you a very nice TV nowadays.
Boy, I'd like to see that TV. We saw Tony G pass an ace from a similar position, but now 2,200 quid in the center, raise of 1,200.
Mr. G, how much you have left?
And Lou's putting him down to the count.
4.
How many wrappered stacks do you have?
Yeah, a bit more.
Is this a threat or a move?
54.
Well, you can find out all sorts of information on just how confident the person is in counting their cash. It also gives you a bit of time to think about just how much you like your weak ace.
That stack of wrappered money in front of Lou, plenty to put Tony all in, but he declines that option.
Well, he's got to have it going through his head that A, you'd like to see Tony G out the door, but it also the last person he wants to double up as well, so he's going to play in pretty careful.
1,200 pounds on Kevin Poast, who might be starting to feel like they're picking on him, but with a 10 high, Tony has every right.
Well, he has got one option here. He could do what's called a stop-go. He could have flat called and then moved in against him on the flop because he would have been first to act. Put the pressure on Tony.
Under the gun.
Under the gun. Tough hand.
It worried me. Had a massive hand.
That's one of those moves that wasn't really around a couple of years ago in No Limit Hold'em, but seems to have caught everybody's fancy now.
I think it works really well, especially in this type of situation where there is only one prize, so you are trying to get all of the cash and you're not afraid to gamble a little bit. If the ace doesn't come down, that's what you think your opponent's raising with. Just stick all your chips in and make him make a big call.
Yeah. If you're good, you're going to know straight away. You're either good and you win, pick up the money, or raise.
1,000 pounds on Piers has announced 2.5 times the bet, 2,500 pounds. 2.5 stacks.
25.
Well, we saw earlier on the devilfish giving pills of wisdom about playing the small pocket pairs. You don't know where you are, and unless you catch the 4, you could be in all sorts of trouble on the flop. Kevin's looking down at an ace-queen, and he might make Piers put the rest in if he wants to play.
Say you had ace-jack.
I said I wouldn't lay down ace-jack.
And you wouldn't know what Piers will think about if Kevin sticks him in, but it's not the easiest decision for Kevin Poast.
That's for sure.
He stuck all his money in once before Gary and was trailing.
Which is not much.
Yeah, only had the king jack last time. This is a big hand, five-handed.
Specialise in aces.
But
and kings.
Piers has not made a move.
Specialise in having a small edge. When
Here, he's also in first position, and he's raised it up. How much do you like your ace-queen now, Kevin? This is a tough one.
Yeah, Piers has not blinked twice this entire...
I'd love to call that.
Wow, he's laying him down. Has fear crept in, or is it a good decision?
I think he's just decided that his opponent, Piers, hasn't made a move wrong all day. Hasn't put a chip in, or rather some cash in, without a hand.
You talk about respect. That's like kissing the soles of Piers's feet, laying down the ace-queen there, and he takes the pot uncontested.
I am surprised. I would have thought we'd have seen Kevin's cash cross the line there. Could have easily stuck his 11,000 in the middle and tried to convince Piers to lay down his hand. But as it happens, £1,500 hits Piers's stack, and he's going to be happy about that.
500 and 1,000 in the blinds. And Lou Huseyin, first to speak, who treats the Jack-7 suited like they're worth nothing, and maybe they aren't. Kevin keeps counting his notes like he's in a bank.
I'm all in.
Raised all in.
Wow.
81.
Ace on the button, and the strong move. Could Tony G get caught out here?
Well, Piers has got a bit of a decision here. He's got an ace. He knows that Tony G's an aggressive player.
Threes.
Yeah, something like that. Very close.
Wow. It's Piers with the verbal. He's trying to get the read on Tony.
Well, you can see from the percentages there, it only adds up to 64%. That's because 36% of the time it's going to be a split pot. The slight edge at the moment with Piers. The ace-6 is good, but he has to put his chips in the middle.
Yeah, Tony's got his money in first. All that cash in the center. And if Piers calls here, well, there's not much between them. He'll be risking elimination. Nearly.
Are the threes good? How could you pick it? You got...
If you have threes, it's 50-50.
Okay. What do you got? Ace-4 then?
No, that's your hand, Tony.
Okay, come on, pick one out. Pick one. Which one do you want? Come on.
Let him pick one.
Yeah, you can do it.
It's a 4.
You pick the ace, you know I've got big cards, but 4 makes it look like it's pocket 4s.
That was a trick Amarillo Slim used to always try out from Texas. And these guys are having fun, Gary. Sometimes you wouldn't know how much money's at stake.
Well, you can see Piers, he's counting his cash. He wants to make sure he knows how much he's got in front of him. I think it's going to be pretty obvious to him. There's about 50,000 round that table, and that's what they're playing for.
That is the first prize. Will it be Lou Huseyin, who's got all the dough? There's 4 others who have something to say, including Tony G. We'll be back.